How do you trim a big bowl like this? I promised some of you that I would show you, and in this video I will teach you the easy way to do it. This is not one of my biggest bowls. It's more like a platter, but it's still too big to fit my normal bat. So I need a bigger bat for that. And I have one. This one is 55 centimeter. So that's great for dealing with big bowls like this, when you want to turn them around, trim the outside and trim a foot. There are a couple of ways that you can do this. One that is too late now is to not cut it off your bat, because then you can turn around the bat and you can put it on this bigger bat, and then once it's placed correctly, you can cut it off. I did already cut this off, so of course I can't do that. So instead, I could either mount this bat onto my wheel. Of course, I need to remove my splash pan and then manually turning this around. However, holding on to the edges as I do that, it may actually warp a little bit, and I don't want that to happen. So another solution is to put the bat on top like this. Let me see one side. Yeah, I think actually I'm going to use this side. So put it on top like this. Try and position it as much in the center as you can. And then comes the tricky part. Because now you need to hold on to the bat that it's on. I put it on a plaster bat, and your hand on the other side. And this, of course, requires some strength, and you need to do it fast. So 1, 2, 3, whoop. That way we keep it in position, so to speak, and we don't warp it. Now I can remove this one. Now comes the tricky part, because I can't see the holes, and it's difficult to mount this bat onto my bat pins without doing that. So I can hopefully move this a little bit. Let me just see where the holes are. They're here. So I need to move this carefully. Now I can see the hole, and now I can see the bat pin. So here I can put it on like this, and once I have one of them, I just move my buckets a little bit. It's a lot easier to get the other one, which can be tricky otherwise. And now, of course, I need to move it into position. You have to be very careful with this, otherwise you will warp it or even break it. And so now, let me just move this around a little bit. Now I can center it. Of course, it's not centered now, and I need to do this manually. And of course, again, be very careful. And I am not very good with tap centering, but for a big piece like this, I don't think it would work anyway. So I'm using my finger technique. I'm holding my finger, and here it's too wide, so I have to move it a little bit. And when you do that a few times, it should get right. Can sometimes be a little tricky, because this is, of course, not very even now. So then I will just check with the side. And see, it's still bumping out a little bit here, so I need to warp it. Still a little bit. I think this is good enough. Maybe a little bit that way. Maybe that was too much. Yeah. Just I think it looks nice now. So normally you would secure a pot with some lumps of clay, but for these bigger ones, they're so heavy that I usually don't find that you need that. So now it's time to trim it. The first thing I want to do is I want to make sure that we actually have a clean and circular foot. So I'm just going to remove, big crumbles with my fingers like this, and then I'll just make sure that I have flat sides, at least for the outer part where I want my foot ring. So now we have a clean top at least. The next step is to mark where I want the outer part of the rim. And you have to hold your hands very steady for that. Just go slow. So now I have the outer rim marked. And now I just need to remove anything outside of here. The normal way most people do that is moving in from the outside. But if you do that, it will be bumpy and you won't get that perfect circle. So instead, I'm going from top and down, trying to follow the circle. And don't push it too much, because then it's gonna be bumpy. So see, now I get a clean circular cut here. Of course, I need to clean it up a little bit more. So now we have a clean circle. I'm just going to clean it up just a little bit more. So, of course, all the scraps are going to fly around. I can clean that. And of course, all these scraps, at least the ones that don't fall to the floor, I will reuse. I don't reclaim the clay that's going on the floor, because if it's on the floor, there could be dust, little particles of stone, or something I don't want in the clay. So I only take the one that I know is clean. So now I can, let me just see here. Now I can mark, or at least that's how I do it. I mark the inner side of my foot. And for this, because it is quite big, I want a white foot. Maybe even a little bit wider, so I can wipe it out like this and try again. Yeah, actually needs to be a little bit wider. That looks good. So now you can see we have a very even foot all the way around. So now it's just time to remove everything inside. It's actually not very thick. I checked that with my fingers before I turn it around. So I know that I actually made it a little thinner in here than I wanted. So I'm not going to take away too much in the center. And I'll start out by using the corner of a very small loop tool, because that way I'm not going to apply too much pressure and push in the bottom. So you're going to get these little circles. Oh. And then I'm going to do the outside. And it's important that you keep your hands very steady. Don't let your loop tool be controlled by the clay, because then it's going to jump up and down and you're not going to get an even button. So now after we did the first go, and take the next go and take off the tops. And see, it's still very uneven, but we can get to that. I usually like my foot to be deeper here and a little bit higher here, so it sort of mimic the shape or continue the shape of the bowl. And also in here, I don't actually have so much I can remove. Now it's time to move to a bigger loop tool. I only use the very small one in the beginning. And I think I mentioned this before. Try to scrape or shave off the clay instead of pushing down, because if you push it down, there's a risk that you're going to push through. So try to scrape it or shave it off. And this is getting very thin now. So I have to be very careful not to take too much in the middle. I can still take a little bit. You can hear when you tap, this is a deep sound, it's thin. This is a more high-pitched sound, so it's more thick. And since this is a very groggy clay and I'm going to have a bit of a texture on it, both inside and out, I don't actually mind that there's some texture also at the foot. But of course, that's a matter of taste. Be careful when you wipe off the scraps, because if it's still soft or soft leather hard, if you try to remove them, they very easily just smudge into the clay again. And I'm just gonna lightly burnish. Also, I always round off the edges, because, well, sharp edges look really nice, but they tend to chip off very easily. So by making them just a little bit round and soft, they tend to stay stronger. And after all, you're going to take this off and on and off the table a lot, so it's a little safer. I think this is good. Now I can work on the outside here, and I want to sort of mimic the height of my foot on the outside as I do on the inside. So I'm gonna go from the out and then so. So I think maybe a little bit deeper. For a big rounded surface like this, it can be difficult with a normal loop tool to get it smooth and even. And for that, I have another tool that I really love, a hacksaw blade like this. Of course, one side of it is a saw, the other side of it is just flat. And you can use it like this as a very wide trimming tool to make these sides more smooth, continuous. Oh. See, now I messed up a little bit here. That's not so good. I can fix that. So, now it looks good again. Sometimes if you need to take off more, this is not the best tool to begin with. And I just want to show you too. It's also very nice on the inside to make that smooth curve. In this case, I'm actually deliberately aiming for a sort of a textured surface, which is also what I have on the inside of this. So it's actually nice with a loop tool, a round one like this. And again, you can tap it to get sort of an idea of how thick it is. I think we can actually take a little bit more. I think it's getting very nice now. So I think something like this. Now I just want to clean up the inside. And then I just want to smoothen the foot. I do like my rough textured side, also the inside, but the foot, where it's going to stand on my table, I like that to be as smooth as possible. So I often use like some sort of a shiny stone. I got it from one of these holistic shops, whatever you call it. And you can burnish this foot and the side of it. Just make it very smooth. Also use your finger. Because that's going to make the part that sits on your table very smooth. And of course, you're not putting glaze there, so that's going to be nice. And this clay have a lot of grog in it, but by using your finger or a stone like that, a shiny stone, you're going to push in the little pieces of grog into the clay, and then you're going to end up with this much more smooth surface. That will look good. Also, I like the contrast from this very smooth to this more rough surface. So I think we're done with this one. And all I need now is to add my maker's mark. And I would usually put it here on the rim. I'm not sure if there's enough space, but yeah, I think there is. I'm just going to push it in here. By the way, these maker's marks I got made in Ukraine. I can put a link to it down here. Very good, high quality stainless steel, so they last forever. And they're very high and they can make it very thin, and because of the steel, so they're very good if you have detailed maker's marks you want to put in. So here I got that. And now, because I trimmed away something, it's a little bit soft here. So if I turn it around now, there's a risk that I'm going to leave marks. So I always like to just dry this a little bit. So now it's a little more resistant. I'm going to put it back on my plaster bed for drying because it's still a little bit soft down here. And if I put it directly on some wood or stone or something, it won't dry the same speed as it do on the top, and that could sort of warp it. So by using a plaster bed, that sort of sucks out some of the moist in the bottom. It's going to dry more evenly. I'm also going to cover it with plastic so it dries slower. If you dry wide, especially shallow bowls like this, too fast, they tend to warp, and of course we don't want that. So now I'm going to do the same in reverse order, like we did before, removing the bed and holding my hand in the middle underneath and my hand on the top, and then turning it around quickly. I throw it up, turn it, and grab it. Hopefully, 1, 2, 3. Well, that's it. Okay, remove the big bed. I just want to make sure that I didn't damage the rim in any way. Sometimes, leave very small marks here. And if you do, this is the right time to even them out. There's a little bit of a mark here. I think that's okay. You can even take a sponge and just clean that up a little bit. Yeah, I think that's fine. Just be careful when you use a sponge on very grogged clay. What actually happens is you wash away the clay and all the grog stands out. So it will actually be more rough. So that's why I'm also using my fingers here to just burnish it a little bit. So now we have it, and it's actually surprisingly light, and I haven't even dried fully yet. So this is gonna be very good. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial. It wasn't that long, but this is how I deal with trimming bigger bowls. If you did enjoy it, please subscribe, share, write a comment, and come back again next week. I usually put up a new video every Sunday at 5 p.m. Central European time, and unless I'm away on vacation or I have some technical glitches, but it should be. And also remember, I have hundreds of videos, so if you go to the video tab and search, you can find videos about all the things that I do. Pit fire and wheel throwing and small things and bigger things. So I hope to see you soon again, and enjoy the summer.